Another episode that is going to entertain your earlobes. Right.
Have you done this before?
No, I feel like, because Robbie's there, so I feel like I'm nervous. Like
Dad's watching.
Dad's watching. Yeah, how are we doing?
Hello, I didn't know I'd get called into this. Not very well.
Why didn't you explain today's app?
Yeah, introduce the guest for us.
Okay, this is a guy that whose name I don't know, but I've seen him. He's nice. I've seen him on... I hope I've got the right app. I've seen him on social media, and he had a motorcycle accident and lost one of his legs. Yeah. But he's very nice. He seems to be nice. Anyway, I've not met him. I wasn't here when you recorded it. But he seems nice and his content's good. And I've seen him and I've watched his videos and I go, oh, he seems nice. But I don't know anything else about him. But it was good, yeah? You never say these, they're bad, do you? No. You always go, they're great. There we go. And he is an arsehole. My word, you'll see.
It's a really good episode. Luke is a great guy.
A lot of you have been asking for the Life Stories episodes to be back, and this is probably right up there with the best of them.
Yeah, his name's Luke. Remember now.
Robbie's not on the app, so it's even funny.
It's weird.
JaackMaate's Happy Hour. Hello guys and welcome back to JaackMaate's Happy Hour podcast. I'm here with my mate Stevie White and we've got an interesting guest on today. We've got a man who's travelled the world, a man who has experienced things that we will never experience, Stevie, and a man who lost a leg doing so. It's Mr. Luke Tarrant. How are you, mate?
You all right, lads? Thanks for having me on.
Can I just say, you're very handsome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Would you say he's handsome?
You are handsome. I don't know if you'll get this reference. When I first saw you, I thought you looked a bit like Dewey from Scream, the Scream movies.
If that's a film, I know nothing about films.
I don't know what it is.
I know nothing. I've watched like 10. I basically watched Top Gun 1, Top Gun 2, and that's it.
Is Top Gun 2 good?
Not as good as Top Gun 1. It's my second favourite. It's my second favourite film.
His favourite ever film's the first film he watched. Then he watched another one and went, they're not as good anymore. Yeah, and just stopped.
He just gave up.
No, honestly, I've got mates who watch they're like thespian, film type people, and they're always mentioning these film references. I'm just sat there like, no idea.
Well, the Top Gun, there is a fella that has a moustache like you, right?
Goose. Yeah.
Right, is that what you're going for?
No, I'm trying to go for the more Maverick look, like the brown hair.
Okay.
But maybe I've gone for a bit of a blend of the two.
So Maverick's Tom Cruise.
Maverick's Tom Cruise, yeah. Okay. I'm even struggling to remember, mate.
I've not seen Top Gun.
Well, what's Dewey then?
Dewey's from Scream.
I thought you meant Malcolm in the Middle.
No, I don't know what the actor's name is. I don't know if you got the internet on, but yeah, you just look a bit like him. For the audio listeners, picture Dewey.
Is it this guy here?
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
No.
That looks like Ryan Gosling.
Does a bit, yeah. So not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Class, I love that.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. And he's much older now and he still looks really good.
I'm hoping that's the way it goes. The thing is, with the tash, it goes one of two ways. You either look like cool with it or a bit suspect.
I think keeping some of the stubble on the beard works.
You need a bit of stubble.
You're rocking it.
I agree with that. I appreciate that.
I remember when I had a tash for a little bit.
You didn't rock it?
No, I did rock it. No, I did.
Why'd you give up so quickly then?
That was just after Top Gun.
The thing is, you've got more fair features.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Hair doesn't stand out as much as you.
No.
For me, it's like black, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So when I go grey, it'll be really obvious.
So I could, if I'd have dyed my tash dark,
would
have looked a little bit sort of.
I don't think that's a bit weird.
That would have looked really weird with your hair like that.
Would have looked a little bit World War II.
You got the eyebrows as well, then.
Yeah. You've dyed your hair brown before?
Yeah, many moons ago.
Do that, do everything. Dye it all dark and then see.
I'm not going to be that handsome though.
See if you can look like Luke.
Make me blush.
Right, Luke, we start with the same question to every single guest.
Yeah.
We want you to imagine a place called the Happy Hour Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Within this place, you can submit an item that will live forevermore. It can be a person, a feeling, a thing, a smell. What would you like to put in the Happy Hour Hall of Fame?
Was can like a place be one of these items?
Yeah.
Like a moment in time?
Yep.
Because I've got this moment in time I'm almost trapped in at the moment, which is the sort of last amazing memory I've got on my motorbike before I crashed. Right. And so the thing which I'd submit into the Hall of Fame is El Cocoy.
Okay.
And it's basically a place up in the Andes Mountains. And I mentioned to you the time I started crying on my motorbike.
Yeah.
I've been on this podcast about 2 minutes, I've already gone soft, but I was up in the Andes Mountains on my own for basically a week. and just had no interaction with people. Like every now and then I'd dip into a town, get a bit of petrol, some food. I was like camping and staying with locals and stuff. And I was up at about 5,000 meters where this glacier is on my bike, totally on my own. And I was just like laughing hysterically. I don't know what it was. It was just the beauty of it all. Like, you know, when you look at a view in nature and you feel like you can't take it in.
Right.
But it's the only time in my life I've actually just absorbed what I'm seeing, if that makes any sense. And I was laughing hysterically and it just turned into tears and I was just sobbing my eyes out. It's the only time in my life I've cried tears of joy. I was on my motorbike as the sun was setting. Maybe it was the altitude or something, but I was just crying my eyes out.
Wow.
And now when I think, and that was a month before I crashed.
Right.
So now when I think back to my sort of life, which I've left behind for the minute, that thing is just stuck in my brain. I have dreams about it all the time.
Do you?
So that's probably my entry.
What had you parked up and you were looking out, or were you driving and crying at the same time?
Driving and crying. Yeah, I probably look bizarre like this.
Yeah, that's probably where you crashed.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, to all the locals, like whenever I stop, particularly those parts of the mountains, they don't see like locals. You stop and they'd be like gringo, gringo. Like it's like an endearing term for non-Hispanic person.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking like some big gringo driving through the mountains, crying his eyes out. This looks like the weirdest thing you've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where did you say this was? I want to Google it.
It's El Cocoy. I'll probably gonna spell it wrong, but LCL, the in Spanish, and then space Cocoy, COCUY. I think that's the nearest town, but there's also a glacier up at about 5,000 meters.
Okay.
I'll show you later. I've got pictures of when I did stop, but the sun was starting to set. It was like 5:30 p.m. just in this insane national park. I haven't seen anyone all day. And normally when I ride as well, I have my tunes on. I'll get my like heavy metal on. I'll just be fucking razzing about.
Yeah.
But on this day, I just raw dogged it. Like earplugs in, no music, and I was just in it. And it honestly, like,
Mate,
that's probably the best moment of my entire life.
That's a phenomenal answer.
Yeah.
That really is. That's made some of the other answers look a bit silly, isn't it?
Really? What do you normally get?
Oh, all sorts.
We always bring this one up, meat thermometer.
Yeah, a guy who liked doing barbecue said he'd put a meat thermometer in there.
I mean, useful.
Yeah. It is. It's not as sort of spiritual as yours.
Yeah.
I feel like a hippie now, don't I?
You're cultured. You're cultured, mate.
I'd probably put chicken wings in there.
Yeah, class.
And you've said sausages every time. You'd always say sausages.
I'm a big sausage man. You know,
What genre of sausage?
I don't sort of discriminate against sausages, really.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
No, I think I'm not someone who's like, what's it called, like Britain first, but I will say Britain does do the best sausage.
Yeah,
like when you go abroad and they
fake sausage, not the same.
I was in Canada a few weeks ago. I got a sausage roll and it was beef. Sort that out.
Mate, I saw you in Canada. Did you try a Caesar? Talking of sausages.
No, what is that?
It's basically like a big, almost like a pint of Bloody Mary, but on top there's a chorizo. Did you try it?
No.
You saw you were there.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what you were going to say. I had one. All the locals were like, try a Caesar. I'm like, all right, I'll get a Caesar. It's basically Bloody Mary with a fucking massive sausage on top.
Was it good?
That's a no.
It was fine. It was just a bit unnecessary.
Right.
Like, I just eaten a big rack of ribs and I didn't need a chorizo, but I have to eat it.
Did that come on a pint as well? Big rack of ribs.
I've never had a Bloody Mary.
Nah.
Tomato in it.
Yeah, it's nice. Good on a hangover.
See, a lot of people say that. We were speaking to Robbie about this the other day. Apparently it's the perfect hair of the dog drink, isn't it?
I think it's more like a self-fulfilling prophecy, though, because, like, now when I have a Bloody Mary, I'm like, oh, I'm not hungover. Why would I have that? But then when I'm hungover, I'm like, fucking give me that Bloody Mary.
Really,
Yeah, it's just a
It's
weird...
refreshing, though.
It is quite refreshing, yeah. Maybe tomato juice.
Does it taste like ketchup?
Yeah.
It's more thin.
Are you meant to dip the sausage in it? Is that why it's there?
Sausage was more of like I think it's just for show, really. I did eat it, but it wasn't the best. It was just like a dodgy pepperami.
Right, okay, so Luke, we are putting into the Hall of Fame not the Bloody Mary with a sausage on top, but El Cocoy, up in the Columbia Mountains, is that right?
Yeah, in the Andes Mountains, It's National Park.
That's perfect answer. Right, now let's do some get-to-know questions to get to know the man behind the motorbike.
What's the most unusual app on your phone?
Oh, the most unusual app on my phone. I think it's probably, well, nowadays, and I use it more than I should, and it kind of links back. I've got a tracking app for my motorbike, which obviously is smashed up in Medellin, and I look at it all the time, and I'm like, oh, there it is. But it's useless because my motorbike can't move and the trackers are irrelevant because it's like I used to use it so if my motorbike ever got nicked, we had to track it.
Yeah.
But now I just all the time it's probably like the frequently used apps. I'll just click on it, and just stare at the screen.
That's quite sad.
Yeah, it's a bit sad. I've ruined the vibe.
What? So the tracker still works? Is it?
Yeah. Like I'll show you after. Like it is just sat there in Medellin.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Which is a whole other story, but yeah, it's there on its own.
Yeah, I kind of get it though. I think I'd do the same.
Yeah. It's like I've got this little connection to it still.
Yeah.
Are you thinking that one day there's going to be a time you don't check that?
Well, I'm going to go fucking pick it up, yeah.
Are you going to go pick it up?
Yeah.
Is it fixable?
Well, I won't ride that bike, but I will eventually finish the trip, which I crashed on.
Right.
And a part of that whole thing is going to be go and get the motorbike, which is it's smashed to pieces, but it's still kind of like one salvageable bit. I'd quite like to turn it into some sort of like thing.
That's what I was going to say,
like,
yeah.
It's too big to hang above a fireplace, but like if I could turn it into like a little sculpture or just take part of it and make it into something, I quite like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to ride it again because it's too smashed up.
Is there a world where you could make that into your foot?
That would be class.
Can you imagine that?
That would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Joel, what you talking about like weird little, what's called like memento.
Yeah.
I'm livid that I couldn't actually keep my foot
Right.
because
How would you keep it?
Well, not actually keep the foot itself, but my mate was like, you could have, got a couple bones out of your foot and turn it into a necklace or something. How cool would that have been? But I don't know what happened to it.
Oh, that's a weird thought.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know what happened to it?
Well, obviously it got chopped off. But I don't know what. Like, I don't know what. I mean, it might be walking around Colombia with a little Colombian man nowadays. Like, you never know.
Yeah. I guess they just disposed of it.
Yeah, they would have cremated it or something.
But that's
What about, when like typically Americans, they'll shoot like an elk or something, then they'll have like the
like
deer head
taxidermy.
on the wall.
Yeah.
Why don't you have just like the motorbike sort of like
you were going to say the foot. Sticking out from the lovely shield.
I thought you saw at the foot as well.
the motorbike handlebars on the wall or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Wouldn't
Yeah.
it? It's a little memory.
Yeah.
But I'll get it back at some point.
Yeah.
And then probably stop checking the tracker.
What's one thing nobody knows about you, Luke?
Oh, what does no one know about me? The thing is, I'm like the least mysterious person ever. I was actually speaking to my friend about this yesterday. I'm the least enigmatic. Is that the word?
Well, I don't know what that means.
It's like the least sort of mysterious person there is. I just sort of am what I am, got no layers.
Right.
But there'll be something nobody knows, and it's trying to think of it. I think like probably that. Do you know what? People always say to me like, "Oh, you're putting on a front," or like you're not actually happy, are you? Like you fucking banged your leg off. You've had to stop traveling. You must be really sad. And like, what's really going on behind closed doors? But I'd like to genuinely sort of like let people know I am so happy at the moment.
Right.
And I can't actually express it in words because my happiness hasn't changed. My happiness is just the way it has always been. And I think there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh mate, like you're having a tough time, aren't you? Like, go on. Like, how actually are you?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I have tough moments and I speak about them openly. But really, I am actually fine." And people don't seem to believe me for some reason.
That's an amazing mindset to have,
Yeah.
though. Because, I mean, that was my birthday last weekend, so I had quite a heavy night on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I feel sad now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hadn't lost a leg.
Yeah, but that's the booze, mate. It's the devil.
Yeah.
Like, I don't drink that much anymore. I think the same. If I have like a big night out or something, my brain is just frazzled for like a couple of days.
Yeah.
But there we are.
No, I love that mindset, mate. Next one. When you were younger, I read that your dad used to refer to you as the boy with 1,000 questions.
Where have you read that? That's true, though, yeah. Yeah.
But if you could have any question answered, what would you ask?
I don't want to make all these answers around basically the same thing, but I don't know what happened in my crash.
Right.
I'd love to know. Like, I don't want everything to be just based on that because there's a lot more to life than the crash itself. But I have no idea what happened, and I'd love to work it out. It's all part of going back and finding the bike, like looking at the damage. Because if you look at my injuries, the right side of my body is the bit that got mashed up. My right collarbone, hand, arm, my right leg, all snapped and broken. The right side of my motorbike was caved in, but I've lost my left leg.
Right. Yeah.
And like when I was in hospital, there was doctors and nurses and stuff who were like, "Oh, your leg looked like it's been crushed, like maybe someone ran over it. But I've not even got a police report. Like, I'm trying to get hold of one now from the Colombian police, but I've got absolutely no idea what caused the crash. So
wow.
So that is obviously the question I'd ask.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing that from you now, I've only met you today, like, I want to know the answers. So like, I can't imagine how much you want to know the answers.
You can get people that sort of, what do you call it? They put the crash back together.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, yeah, reconstruction of it.
Yeah.
You see it on the TV and it's this is what we think happened. But I mean, no one's ever gonna fucking know. I mean, one day I might wake up and remember.
Yeah, maybe going back to the scene could trigger something.
Yeah, but when I try and think about it, I get this deep feeling of like, don't go there, mate. Don't try and get in that mindset. Just stay away from it. Like you're happy as you are.
Like a dread.
It's the the only way I could describe it is, imagine England on penalties in the Euros final. You've got that feeling of, oh fucking hell, they're gonna score this. It's that weird like pent up thing, but you can't do anything about it. It's not your situation to deal with. Is he gonna score the penalty or not? Who knows?
Right.
And it's like that kind of nervousness.
Maybe it's your brain's, the way your brain kind of, like the fight or flight. It doesn't want you to want you to go there. It doesn't want you to have the answers, if you know what I mean, because it might be a bit too traumatic.
Maybe. But who knows?
Yeah, fair enough. All right, we'll come to that a little bit later. We've got one more question.
If you had to travel the world with any animal, which animal would you take and why?
But it's got to be with you the whole time.
So you don't want to go anything too big.
Yeah, do you know what? That just reminds me immediately of one of our mates I was motorbiking with for a while. I can't remember what country we were in, but one day we were like, right, I'll buy you a gift, you buy me a gift, and we have to, it's like a Top Gear type thing.
Yeah.
You have to keep it with you at all times. Like if you lose this thing, there's some forfeit, whatever it was. And he bought me like a cactus, which like I just sort of strapped aside my bike and it just got mashed up. But I bought him what I can only describe as a chicken bank. So it was like a piggy bank shaped like a chicken, but it was massive. And he put it on the back of his bike, strapped it on. I literally was behind him. First speed bump he went over, it just went everywhere. So I think in honour of that, I'll probably just take a chicken. And then when I'm done with the trip, I can eat it. And also, I love eggs. I eat like 6 eggs a day.
Do you?
Yeah, so that means I can just like...
Because you're into your fitness and that, aren't you?
Yeah, so I can have the egg. It gives me... Have the egg, have the chicken, give me a few eggs. Class.
What's the best way to cook an egg?
The best way to cook an egg? I actually mix it up daily. I don't poach them because I find it too time consuming.
Right.
But my favourite way to eat eggs nowadays, there's like Uncle Ben's rice packs.
Yeah.
Get one of them, avocado, mash it in, and then just get 6 eggs on top. Fried or scrambled.
Well, make it like a cake type thing, like a bake.
A cake?
Why is it? Where has your brain gone? He's just put an egg on top of rice.
No, look, because you've got the rice and the avocado as the layer. Yeah. Then you're putting 6 eggs on and they're cooking.
Like a lasagna?
Into like a lasagna, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more, you could call it that, I
This is how Jack's brain works. You get used to it.
It's a ricey avocado egg cake.
Scrambled eggs best for me.
Yeah, I like a scrambled egg. I like a fried egg.
How many are we talking?
Oh, mate, I'll have 2 a month, if that.
Really?
Yeah, not a lot. I'm not a beacon of health. I'm
not sure 6 is good, though. Like, there's 2 schools of thought. You see all those people on like Instagram nowadays who are like, oh, you need to just... There seems to be like a real dividers. You need to eat 1 million eggs a day or you can't eat any because of cholesterol.
Yeah.
I just got used to
it. When you were on your travels, could you eat eggs? Is that something you could get anywhere?
Yeah, they have chickens.
I said you'll get used to it. Oh, that was mental.
What? Oh, if he's up in a mountain, how's he getting an egg when he's in a mountain?
From a chicken?
How are you getting a chicken? I don't know what came first.
The mountain or the chicken?
But when you're up there and like you got your cooking your beans and your peas or whatever.
Yeah.
How's he getting beans and peas?
In his bag.
What, you're finding that acceptable? It's possible for
can't take a chicken
I get
in a
what
bag.
you're saying. Like, it's hard to put an egg in your bag because it gets smashed.
Yeah.
No, he's worried about the chicken, not the egg.
Yeah, but if you've bought one with you, it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, so he's got his own chicken.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
In this case, I've got my own chicken.
Okay. Now, before we get onto your early life, Luke, we've got a big red button in front of us.
Yeah.
When you press this, you'll get a random question from our ball machine here that's been submitted by a previous guest. Could come from anyone.
Right.
So hit that button whenever you're ready.
I get to ask a question later?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Is it broken?
No, that's on me.
Oh, Stevie.
Turn the lecky on.
Jack went away for about 3 weeks and that has a mind of its own and turns on. So before we left, I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
So it can come back in and it's all just
Balls everywhere. Right, I can press it again.
Yeah.
Boom.
Here we go. Just the one today. We love it. Oh no.
Oh no, you've got a few.
That'd be this one, yeah?
That's the one.
Okay, right. Luke, if you can open that and let us know who
It's
are...
like that game when you're a kid and you go to the thing and you like, ask your mum for like 20p.
Oh, for the little... You
Do you
put
know
it
what
in
I'm
the
talking
twisted
about?
thing.
You
Yeah,
normally
yeah.
get a bouncy ball,
Yeah.
but instead you get...
It is.
Who's it from? It should say at the end who it's from.
If you were to get whacked today, do you know where you're going?
Huh?
Is that
Who's asked
Michael
this?
Francis, is it?
Francis.
Yeah,
Oh.
so that sounds, So he's basically saying, once you die, where do you think you go? Do you believe in your soul?
Is there an
or...
afterlife?
Yeah, I should just say this guy was like top dog in a New York crime family. So he was part of the New York mafia back in the day.
So whacked is actually quite. This is quite a sinister note.
yeah.
It looks a bit
You're
like
fucked. You're fucked.
Yeah. I've got that feeling of dread again.
So what is he saying? Do you know if you're going to slaughter like
Heaven, hell, do you believe in any of that?
Do you know what? And it links back into the wider view on religion. None of us have a fucking clue.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing about, I feel like people who are deeply religious and people who are deeply atheist are all as stupid as each other.
Right.
None of us have a clue. Like, maybe. What happened before you were born? Don't know. Was I there? Don't remember that either.
Yeah.
Like, this question is like, it tries to lead you down the path, are you religious or not? I feel like I've got my own religion.
Okay.
And I'm not starting a cult, but like I just feel like just do nice things, be a good person. Right, there might be a heaven, there might be a hell. You might go somewhere after, you might not, but just have a nice life and get on with it.
I wonder if he's also asking whether someone would be honest enough to go, I'm probably going to hell.
Yeah, but then,
I see what you mean.
but then like even that's vague because there's so many different religions and the different parameters for whether you go to the sort of the good place or the bad place based on that religion has different ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like there'll be some religions where like if you're gay, you're not going to go to the promised land. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like what one are you basing it on? I'm fucked either way, and I'm not.
Yeah. No matter what, you're hell.
It depends if the religion relies on you eating cheese and onion crisp for breakfast. Onion ring.
Onion rings.
Yeah, then I'm straight there.
I just realised that was before we even started the podcast.
Right, okay. Luke, let's get into your life, mate.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Bedford,
Bedford.
like near Luton way.
That's Tom Grennan.
I was about to say, is that Tom
He's from
Grennan?
Bedford, yeah. He's from Bedford, yeah.
So Steve, you know, whenever we have someone on the pod and we talk about where they're from, we ask this question. If we was to go there tonight, me and Stevie, for our night out or spend a day there or a weekend there, what kind of stuff would you suggest that we do?
I suggest you don't go on a night out. That would be my suggestion. The last night out I went on in Bedford, one of my best mates called someone out for jumping in the queue in front of him, and the geese walked him and headbutted all his teeth out.
What?
No way.
Yeah, my mate Barkley. He had like 2 years worth of. I've not been out of Bedford for like 3 years. He had all his front teeth reconstructed, like everything, just because he called someone out. And I was around the corner, and it's like there's this place in Bedford called the Rose. It's like everyone goes like Rose till close. That's like the thing in Bedford.
Oh, right.
And I was around the corner trying to get in, asked the bouncer if we could go in because it was a big queue and whatever. I hear on the radio a big fight on the high street. I'm like, oh, big fight on the high street. Man, the lads are there. Oh fuck, the lads are there. So I kind of jogged around the corner because I had 2 legs at the time, and I just see Barkley there with like blood everywhere and his teeth on the floor, and I was like,
No way.
yeah. So don't go on a night out.
Right, okay.
But I don't want to make Bedford sound like a bad player. I'm actually like Mr. Bedford PR nowadays. I love support.
Well, you just lost your job.
Yeah. I'm now wondering if, because Tom Grennan got jumped and had to have like jaw surgery, was that in Bedford?
No, it weren't. Nah, that was in America.
Was it not?
No, because that was the second time. First time we got jumped years ago.
I reckon it would have been in Bedford.
You're not doing a good job. Nah, that would have been Bedford.
Yeah. Wow.
It's nicer. You've got a nice little river and you can walk about. Just once it gets dark, just go home. Like, it's not super rough. It's just that small town mentality. Everyone wants to kill each other because like, oh, you.
Fucking hell.
No, not like
Michael Francis.
yeah.
PR is mad.
It's more like everyone knows each other. So
Yeah.
he's kissed his girlfriend and and like, oh, he hit his mate 2 weeks ago. So there's always just beef amongst everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not like in London, you go out, you don't know everyone. People are just going out to have a nice time.
Yeah.
There are also wrongings in London too. But in a small town, I don't know where are you lads from? A small town.
Norwich.
Is that's bigger though, isn't it?
Yeah,
bigger,
it's a bit
yeah.
bigger.
Bedford, like you'll go out, and even now I've not lived there for years, but I'll go out and I'll be like, oh, I did fucking music with him in year 10.
Right, yeah. So see, there's an element of that in Norwich, isn't
Yeah.
there? Yeah. Like a lot of people know you, won't they? What?
What?
What are you trying to imply? Go on. Go on.
Just like why you're not allowed around schools.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. What happened to the fella who headbutted your mate?
Nothing, because the police they had basically CCTV, but it was like covered by scaffolding.
Oh no!
And there was this whole thing around whether he did it and could they prove it was him, and nothing happened to him. Like my mate obviously spent a lot of money on his teeth reconstruction, and that got paid for by like a fund that the police have for people who haven't been prosecuted or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So he got a new set of teeth, but yeah, the guy nothing happened to him.
Does the teeth look good?
They look right, yeah. Right, a bit brown, but they're fine. Sorry, Barkley. I don't mean that.
So what were you like growing up in Bedford? You weren't headbutting anyone's teeth out then?
No, like I've always just sort of, the idea of going on nights out and scrapping people just is pointless.
Yeah.
Like what's the point? I love doing martial arts and like fighting in inverted commas, but in a controlled setting, like the sport I've done for years, like jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you guys have tried it, but I absolutely love it. But that's like a nice way of getting a release. But just walking around Bedford whacking people in the head, what's the point? Like, you don't look hard, you just look a bit self-conscious.
Whereas you do look hard if you're good at jiu-jitsu, I think.
Yeah.
I watched a video of a guy that we had on the pod called Laurie Vincent, who's in a band called Soft Play. I don't know
yeah. I literally saw them like a month or so ago.
Yeah, they're sick. And he does all that now.
Yeah.
And like the videos look so fucking cool. There's such an art to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Are you good at it then?
I was alright. It's like, I would go like twice a day in periods, but I've not done it for ages. Obviously, I've been recovering from this. The other nice thing about it is you have like communities that I feel like I've got two communities which are sort of have been behind me during this period. There's obviously the motorbike community, and they've done loads for me, but also like the jiu-jitsu MMA community. When I crashed, before I even knew what was going on,
right?
My gym had set up a GoFundMe, for example. And
wow!
Like, helping pay for stuff in Colombia and sorting things out, and like I have those two solid communities of people that I might not know the individual person that's helping, but we've got this shared common interest, and we can like. Nowadays, if I saw someone that needed help on a motorbike or whatever, I'd be like, "Fucking come here, I'll be out."
Yeah. That's sick.
Yeah.
Would you ever get into MMA or jiu-jitsu or anything like that?
I'd give it a go, but I think I'm quite weak.
Yeah, but it's not about being strong. It's like I'm just gonna sound like a real the word like about it, but it's about it was a martial art made for weaker people, like women, small people, whatever. To use like, say they've got 100 units of strength, and there's someone with like 1,000 units of strength. But if they use that 100 units of strength on a part of someone's body which has only got 20 units of strength in it, like their neck, they could choke them out. So like, there's some unbelievable women. I've been beaten up by women so many times.
Yeah.
I'm in.
You normally have to pay for that. I've been choked out a few times, haven't I?
Yeah, we've had a few UFC guests on, and
you've let them choke you out.
Well, I sort of tap pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But
like when you say pretty quick, before they even tighten, he's tapping.
Really? Yeah, that's how scary it is. Yeah.
Paddy the Baddie did it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Tom
Bisping
did it to me.
Bisping did it to you.
Yeah.
We didn't ask Aspinall.
No, I know. I got too scared because he's next level.
He's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
He's terrifying.
Have you been put to sleep then?
Once I had like, because you always tap before you go to sleep, like,
right?
But there was one time where I felt the sort of like the blinkers starting to come in. You know, the tunnel. You started to look through the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then I managed to get a quick tap off, and everyone was like, "Mate, what's that smell? You shit yourself?" I was like, "No, I actually haven't." And I was like, "Wait, I wouldn't know. I hadn't. I just done like a mad fart." I had to go to the toilet. And I was like, "I haven't shit."
I'm out again.
Yeah.
See, that can't be good for you though, can it?
Shitting yourself.
Being put to sleep. That can't.
It's better than being whacked in the head. All it is like the oxygen's not getting to your brain because it's the arteries cut off. But it's not like getting hit in the head. It's not like boxing.
Right.
Smacked in the head.
Can it not have any long-term damage then?
I've no idea.
Yeah. I imagine as long as
long-term damage to my reputation if I shit myself.
I imagine as long as they stop at the right time. If they don't carry on once
if
you're
you
out.
carry on, you just die because like your brain's not getting any blood.
Yeah.
The idea is that they wouldn't do that.
Because there was a video recently where, did you see where Paddy the Baddie went to that other guy's gym?
Yeah.
Because did you see this? Some guy was calling out Paddy's mate or something. And then they started to have some beef online. And then Paddy was like, well, I'll just come and sort it out on the mat.
On the mat, yeah.
And Paddy didn't let go when the guy was tapping. And now
he put him to sleep.
Put him to sleep, yeah, and was holding on for a bit.
The thing is that's a little bit frowned upon.
Yeah.
Obviously in this situation, like a bit of a beef, but if you were like going about jiu-jitsu gyms, like trying to choke people out and then not letting go, it wouldn't go well.
No, because it's quite a respectful thing,
yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Also, you've almost entered into like an implicit contract with this person that like, if they do manage to choke you out, then you're gonna, or like you get in an arm bar or something. It's like, now I'm just gonna snap his arm off.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be my thing. Go and take people's legs off now. I've only got one of my own.
Well, you should just get in a fight with someone and pretend they've taken your leg off. What the fuck you done?
Do you know what? When I had my crash, one of the lads from the jiu-jitsu gym, everyone else was this when I was like really early on as well. People were messaging me saying, mate, like, I hope you're all right. Like, if you need da-da-da. I just got a message from one of the lads. I'm not even that close with at the gym, but I know. And he just goes, can't wait to snap a metal leg. As in my prosthetic. No, like, I hope you're all right, mate. Because I can't wait to snap a metal leg.
Do you like that, though? Do you like that kind of...
Yeah, because like it goes one of two ways. And when my mates would come and visit me in hospital, they'd come in and some of them, people broke down crying. Like, because I wasted away. I'd lost a third of my body weight. Or some of that was leg and a lot of that was just muscle and stuff. And I looked just like a shell of myself.
Right.
And some of the lads would come in and I could see they're like almost choking up a bit. And then some of them come in. I remember one mate walked in and sort of didn't come to my side room. He was like, you're not going to walk over and say hello? And I'm like, fuck off, mate. It's just that. And that's probably the side I prefer.
Yeah.
Because they're not treating you any different.
Yeah, that's it.
But at the same time, like, it is obviously quite emotional for your mates seeing one of your best mates in that scenario as well.
Yeah.
But
I probably wouldn't even come visit you if it was you.
Oh, cheers.
Yeah, probably got stuff on.
I've got a really good story. My friend Ed Jackson, I don't know if you've heard of him. He was a rugby player. And he dove headfirst into a swimming pool, broke his spine, and I think this is even way harder to deal with than what I was going through. But he got told he'd never walk again or be able to move. Like, spinal cord, there's certain levels of injury which mean you are just completely stuck. You can't move anything. And this is when he couldn't move his arms. And he played for Wasps and a couple of other teams, like big rugby lads. Yeah. And one of his mates came in and bought juggling balls with him and said to Ed, right, well, you've got a lot of time in hospital on your own, so you may as well pick up a new skill, and just threw 3 juggling balls at him. And Ed was like, that was the moment when I actually felt like myself again. Right. Weirdly, it sounds like a really dark thing to do, but it was just being treated like one of the lads, like normal. You might be paralysed, but you can still make fun of it.
100%.
Yeah, it's like a dark humour sort of.
Yeah, that can heal. It really can. Yeah. Like in moments of sort of tragedy and stuff like that, if you're able to laugh at it. And
100%.
Wait, so when did you first discover, like growing up, that you had an interest in travelling?
It links back to that thing you said earlier about my dad. Like, I've always been just curious about the world around me, whether it's like as big as going travelling or just. I remember my parents got called into school once. And my biology teacher was like, you need to ask him to stop asking so many questions. Like, it's getting out of hand. And my dad literally just told the woman to fuck off. He was like,
that's what school's for,
isn't it? You can ask as many questions as you want.
Yeah.
And that sort of followed me into my adult life. I went to uni and then I got a job on like a trading floor, and I walked on this thing. I'm like, oh my god! I'm coming from like a shitty state school. I'm on this trading floor. This is amazing. But very quickly, like, the novelty of that wore off.
Right.
And
is that like Wolf of Wall Street?
Well, that's what I thought. I turned up day one. I'm like, I've absolutely made it here.
Yeah.
But within a couple of years, like, I earned a bit of money to be able to afford my travelling.
Yeah.
But also the novelty of it just sort of dissipated, and it went from being this like really cool thing that I was like showing my mates pictures of the trading floor to, oh, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go to an office. And I was like, this isn't what I want to actually do.
Right.
So I left that, and then I just knew I loved exploring and traveling, and bought myself a motorbike, did a trip around Asia, came back for Australia, across Europe, and then into Texas, and then bought the motorbike, which I crashed on. So, like...
Oh, so how long had you been traveling for, like, solo, up until the crash?
I've been on the road motorbiking in for that period for about like 2 years maybe.
Okay, right.
But the bit which I crashed on, in terms of being solo, there was a stint where my mate Jack came out from when I was in Guatemala. So he was with me for about 4 months before the crash. But the day I actually crashed, we were in different parts of Colombia, because when we came from Panama, I wanted to go on a small boat and like stay on the islands and camp and do all that stuff with little like local don't you call them, the Guna. I don't know if they refer to themselves as a tribe or whatever they call themselves as, but like I'd stay with them and eat the fish and ceviche, stuff like that. It was amazing, but he just gets seasick, so he flew. So we were separate for about 2 weeks.
Right.
And when I crashed, he came to my side and was there for like the whole thing.
Right.
So I've been solo for a couple of years, but then Jack was with me for the last 3-4 months.
What was the first place you remember going on your own to? Because it's quite a big thing, I think, traveling on your own.
Yeah.
Like, you went. Where'd you go the other day?
I travelled on my own for the first time the other day. Went to Disneyland.
Disneyland.
What's that look?
You're not beating these kid alligators.
I went for work. I went for a work thing, but so...
But you went. So the talk was at Disneyland, but you still went to the theme park for a day?
Because they gave me free
weird.
entry.
That's weird though, isn't it?
If you're there anyway, what were you doing there for work?
I was doing a talk at like for media students.
I'm not buying it. Media
I met Woody and Buzz. It was great.
Oh, you know what? Like, I think anything you want to really do, there are certain things that are obviously better with mates.
Yeah.
Like, I went to a gig, I want to be with my mates.
Yeah.
And Disneyland.
Or Disneyland, purely because of the allegation. But if it's traveling, you meet so many more people when you're on your own. The very first trip I ever did on my own was to the Philippines.
Right.
And I went there thinking, how's this going to play out? I was like about 20 or something. It was my first solo trip.
What made you do that? What made you go, I'm going to go alone?
I don't know. I wanted to do a solo trip. Like I'm not actually. I'm a social creature. I'm not one of those people who wants to be on their own. Like
right.
On a weekend, I don't sit at home reading books on my own. I'm out with all my mates.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me which is like, I love being on my own terms. And when you're away with your mates, it's great. But there are times like, oh, do you want to do this today? Do you want to do that today? Or we'll compromise. When you're on your own, you just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And you meet who you want and you spend time with who you want. And I got the bug for it in the Philippines that first time, and then kept when I had the job at the start, I kept doing solo trips. And then when I was like, right, I'm actually going to fully like commit to this and do it full time until I run out of money, then I was like, I want to do this on my own. But by the time Jack came, I was also really ready for him to be there.
Right.
Because we could then share it, and he's really into his bikes, and he's better at mechanics and all that stuff than I am. I love motorbikes for what they can do. I'm not that sort of guy that's like, oh, like, what exhaust have you got? I'm just like, kind of ride it.
Yeah.
Whereas Jack knows a lot about bikes, and he was very useful for, by that point, helping me fix parts of my bike and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we were quite a good team.
Do you need to be somebody who's just good at stuff to do solo traveling? So like when you're talking about mechanics there, I'm like, right, well, I don't have that. I don't really know how to cook. I don't really know how to do X, Y, and Z. So can I still solo travel?
I think you'd be good at it because you're like a personable bloke. You go, maybe obviously in certain countries you can't speak the language, but by the time I got to down in Colombia, I was speaking Spanish, and like you guys are similar as me, extroverted people who want to go and chat away. You'll pick up the language rapid, and then you'll just be able to immerse yourself in everything that's around you. I'll go and live with families for like 2-3 weeks.
Really?
Just become like one of their kids in Guatemala.
How do you get them to agree to let you stay?
There's various ways of doing it. Sometimes you can pre-plan it. So one of the longest stints I did was in Guatemala, and I was doing some Spanish lessons, and I found a woman online for the Spanish lessons, and she said, oh, there's a family which are happy to host you if you want to stay there. And I was like, great, wicked. So in a day, I'll do 4 hours of Spanish lessons. I'll go out and help like in the coffee farm with the old man, Jeremias. We'd come back, have dinner as a family. I didn't speak English for a month. And like after that, my Spanish went from si senor to like kind of fluent.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's your Spanish at now?
I think a lot of it's dissipating out my brain.
Yeah.
Like by the time I left the Americas, I was very confident in, like, I wouldn't want to be doing a podcast in Spanish.
Yeah.
But I could chat to anyone in the street about most topics. Like, it wasn't, but I mean, when I arrived in Mexico, I actually had to look up adios. I knew nothing. And I didn't really do many lessons, but by the time I got to Colombia, that was about 10 months later, I could speak Spanish just through immersing in it.
Really? Yeah. Well, so could you, removing like the Spanish lessons out of it, when you're at the family's house, and even if they're not sitting down like trying to teach you Spanish, are you just picking it up?
You'll just pick it up, being fully. I tried to do Duolingo, but I'm far too, like, people, what you would call it, ADHD or whatever. I can't like do it. I'll do 2 minutes of it and then I'll get distracted by something.
Yeah, right.
When you're in it and someone's like, you're at the dinner table and you've got no cutlery and you're like, oh, how do you get fed up with just pointing, and they'll like, or the water, like, agua? Yeah, fine. Or you just learn the word water.
Right.
And it snowballs. And then you'll remember the day after you said, can I have that thing? And you said, me gustaría. And it's all of a sudden, I know how to say that. So I'll say that me gustaría. And then now I need to find out, how do I actually ask what that is? And you say, como se dice? How do I say that?
Yeah.
And then now I've got, how do I say that? How do I say this? How do I say that? And it just it slowly becomes a second language.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's better than you doing Duolingo at Reading Festival at Silent Disco, trying to get your streak.
Look, that owl.
He's weird. He's weird.
Also, Reading Festival, again, a very young crowd.
It's true.
Reading Festival, Silent Disco.
And he's there doing his streak.
Yeah, look, that owl gets really angry if you don't do it.
He does get angry.
That was pretty much the last time I did it. Gave up after that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I'd basically only open the app to make sure I got the streak and then just close it again.
Do you remember
Yeah.
any of it?
Nah.
I don't think you can learn a language through doing it.
No.
I think you need to actually be in it. And then it's so much. I thought I was shit at learning languages. Like French was my worst subject at school, and I just thought my brain can't do that. But when you're in it, you got no choice. You just start doing it.
Yeah.
It's mad.
You said there that you think like it's just sort of disappearing now. Is that because you're not having to use it?
I think it's still there. If I hear a song in Spanish, I'll be like, oh, they're saying that. Oh yeah, what's that? I still know some Spanish.
Right.
But because I just got sort of yoinked out of that environment.
Yeah.
Plonked back in London. I'm not really using it. And I need to go and activate those brain cells that have just sat there dying off. I think if I get back in the mix within a couple of weeks, I can probably like click back into it.
You mentioned earlier that you went to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And then you texted me the other day saying that you had a run-in with like the Mexican cartel or something. Is that true?
So you know Day of the Dead in Mexico?
Yeah. Is that the same as Cinco de Mayo or not?
No.
No, okay.
I don't know what Cinco
Cinco de Mayo is 5th of May.
5th of May.
But what's...
I'm trying to think.
Is that Day of the Dead?
No, because
Or is Day of the Dead near
Halloween?
Day of the Dead was in October, yeah. So I don't know what the 5th of May represents.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's different. Don't worry.
I'm now interested in what it is.
Do you want to find Cinco de Mayo? Isn't it like, is it?
There you go,
Is
in
Cinco
Mexico.
de Mayo like sexy? No, that's not sexy.
Doesn't sound, yeah. It'll be some sort of
It's just some kind of festival.
old festival.
I've probably been really culturally offensive there, but what's the thing where they...
What are you trying to say? Because I think you're worried about whatever you're about to say,
I am
because it could be
worried about it.
offensive.
Yeah.
They get their boobs out,
What?
and then they get the beads.
What? Are you talking about Brazil? You're talking about...
I've truly got no idea what you're talking about.
It sounds like you're talking about the Brazilian...
Carnival.
Carnival.
That's not about getting your
Carnival.
Is it not?
Well, it's just about...
But that's what you see in the TV, in the films,
Yeah,
isn't it?
you-
Well, you wouldn't. They don't do that in
I'd
Top
be-
Gun, but...
Yeah. There really wasn't on Top Gun.
Tits and Beads Festival. What have you just Googled that?
No, I'm trying to work
You're
out...
definitely going to get results for a different kind of beads.
That's
as well.
that!
Mardi Gras.
That's that! That's all tits and... I just found
Is it?
That's tits and That's tits and beads. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, he is literally burying his face in
I've
that.
probably offended so many people out there.
Yeah, I didn't go to that with a cartel.
Yeah, how have we gone from Mexican cartel
I
to
don't know.
this?
I don't know.
Local Tits and Bees Festival.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah. But so in Oaxaca, so actually I've got a good story for you.
Right.
I think this is true. I might be.
Did that happen to you?
No, I've got a real story, and I've got a story which leads to my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know Day of the Dead, everyone knows about it from James Bond.
Yeah.
There's one of the James Bond films that apparently starts in Day of the Dead. I got told this.
Yeah.
I might be passing on a fake rumor, but apparently everyone goes to Mexico City for Day of the Dead because they saw it in James Bond.
Okay.
Actually, before James Bond, they only celebrated in Oaxaca.
Oh.
Yeah, we've got something here that says how James Bond inspired Mexico City's Day of the Dead parade.
Yeah.
So
So nowadays everyone's like, oh,
Spectre, yeah.
did you go to Mexico City for the Day of the Dead? And I'm like, no, because you've gone to the tourist trap version. Oaxaca is where it's at. And in the centre of town I don't know if you've seen stuff from Day of the Dead. They've got these massive don't even call them. They're not sculptures. They're like almost like paper mache type thing.
Right.
Skulls and people dancing, and there's music, and it's a big festival. And it's over like 4 days. The first day, you go to visit the graves of your relatives, and you take offerings. Like you might take a Corona, open it up, leave it for your relative who's going to come out of the grave for that night and celebrate.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
So it starts off quite like a serious thing, and it just escalates into a full boot off.
Oh, yeah.
And on day 3. So on day 3, I'm in the centre of Oaxaca, and I met just this local dude. And obviously this was in the period of time where I'm like just spewing Spanish at anyone who listened.
Yeah.
Like I was loving it.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you wanna come to the real Day of the Dead? And I'm thinking, fucking hell yeah.
Yeah.
And he said it's 40 minutes out of town. I'm like, right, well, I can't say no to this because he's like, come with me, like it's gonna be legit. So anyway, we go off. He picks up his little scooter, and I got my motorbike, which by the way in Mexico is massive. Like they have little 125s, little scooters, the sort of things you get delivery riders on about here. I had a big adventure bike with panniers on the side, so I already looked like a freak.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're driving out of town. It's getting darker and darker. There's not street lights and stuff. We're just in rural Mexican countryside, and I'm thinking I'm about to get abducted. Like, there's no way I'm not getting kidnapped.
Right.
But by then I was sort of too far in it. So I just carried on with him down this route. And it felt like we were driving for ages because I didn't even have a map on.
How far is too far in it where you're going, well, if I do get abducted, I do?
Yeah.
Honestly, my brain had already gone to that point.
You're just like, I accept it if it is.
Yeah, because like I've got this belief, I've always had this belief that it'll all be fine. Obviously clearly I'm sat with one leg, it ended up not being fine. but like I've just got people always say, were you scared when that thing happened? I'm like, no, but it's probably more stupidity than bravery. Do you know? And I'm just like, this will be right.
Yeah.
This will be fun. I'll tell her that tomorrow.
Yeah. So how long had you known this guy until you followed him in the mountains?
Oh, like half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, because he said he was leaving to go to the proper Day of the Dead. So anyway, we finally arrive. We're getting close to this place, and I hear, I'll show you the videos later. They'll blow your mind. And we arrive into this thing, and I hear like live music. And I'm like, fucking hell, what is going on here? And we park up. I left my motorbike helmet on my bike, which did actually end up getting nicked. And we walk basically into this like kind of, it's almost like a square, but it's for like kids playing games.
Right.
And there's people in the middle just like letting off fireworks. Everyone's wearing like balaclavas or clown masks. And there's a lot of people walking around with guns. And it's like a really, like, you know, The Purge?
Yeah.
It feels like a sort of purge type situation.
Yeah.
It's like a real odd vibe. It's like a party vibe, and they're all letting out this scream. It's like a and I'm like, fucking hell, what have I entered into here? Anyway, I spent the night with these people, and like, there's photos of me, you know, with all these people with clown masks on, blowing things up and all this. And at the time, I wasn't really asking too many questions. Until I sort of knew what these people were affiliated with, given they all got machine guns tattooed on their arms.
Yeah,
like there was like the same tattoo they all had. There's like a machine gun on their arm.
Fucking hell.
And yeah, obviously it was the cartel. And I mean, because later on I got a message from one of the blokes I've met saying, "Oh, by the way, mate, obviously it wasn't written like this.
Yeah."
You fancy like laundering some money for us in London?" And I was like, "No, senor. I'm afraid I can't help you."
So is that why they invited you there then, to like befriend you and then try and...
Honestly, I think there is just an element of, it's just like novelty, like bringing along, like I said, the gringo thing, like bringing along this big gringo to come to the party. And I'm like, hey, Ron, I'll show you the photos later. There's photos of me with like 5 lads. We've all got aerosol cans in their hands that are like blowing out fire, and they're all wearing like clown masks and balaclavas. I'm still like, hey!
Wow. How do you like? I'm somebody who finds it quite awkward to leave a party.
Yeah.
Right. So
this went on all night. This went on. The sun came up like, yeah.
Did it?
Yeah. This was a full night jobby.
And then where do you go after that? That's what I want to know.
I just went back. I was staying in like a hostel in a centre of Oaxaca because it was really hard to get accommodation.
What was the goodbye like? Was it just casual, like, see you later, cartel man?
I actually can't really even remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't remember like the sort of leaving process. I remember getting back to my bike and I was like, oh yeah, well, obviously my helmet's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
The bike was still there though.
Bike was still there.
Yeah.
I had a disc lock on it. And in London, I've had bikes stolen in London. They just angle grind straight through the disc lock.
Oh wow!
But in Mexico, I don't think there's that level. Like, weirdly, it's safer to leave your motorbike on the street next to a cartel party than it is in fucking Dalston.
Do you think that's been the most dangerous place you've ever been?
No, Venezuela.
Okay.
Venezuela. Like when I was in Colombia, I sort of looked, because I didn't ever plan a route. I just go, where am I going to head next? And I looked at the map and I said, oh, we're really close to Venezuela. And I started doing a bit of research on it. And you know those like government maps that put things color coded? So it's like that's green, red, yellow, whatever. The whole area of Venezuela that bordered Colombia was all red, and it was like, do not go here.
When you say these maps, what do you mean? Are these
foreign
apps?
No, the government website, the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, FCDO map.
Right.
So if you go to a place which is red on the map, your travel insurance is invalid. Like you can't. If I had a crash there, would have been fucked. But I was looking at it thinking, I'm really close and I've never been to Venezuela and I'm seeing all these like negative stories about it. I just want to go and check it out myself. So against all the like recommendations from the press and government and that, and actually the Colombians as well, like, don't go there, mate. But I just had this thing, I was like, I need to go and check it out. And it's probably the most rewarding traveling I've ever done. Because when I drove up through Mexico, daily you'd see thousands of people on the roads walking from Venezuela. I think like, again, you have to check the stat, maybe like 25% of the population are walking to the US or have walked to the US just to escape the like political situation they've got in the country.
Wow.
So I met a lot of them on the road. Sometimes I give them a little lift, like, I'm going that way, jump on the back of the bike. And I was like, I just have to go and see what's going on there myself.
Right.
It was just pretty sad, to be honest.
Was it?
Yeah.
What, in terms of like the poverty or
sad, like,
war?
Like it's like the human stories of it all. I'll be in a bar, like a big old bar, and I was chatting to these two guys and they're best mates, and they said that one of them ran the bar and the other one was his mate, and they were just sat there drinking whiskey out of a plastic bottle, and I said, oh, is it never that busy in here? And they said, 10 years ago, this bar, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there's like 300 people in it. We don't get people here anymore. Like, there's no one in the town because they all walk into the US. And the guy said that I was with said that the only reason he stayed was because he had like a special needs son, and he wanted to go and have a better life in the US. But the thing is, I think there's also this view there that they're going to walk to the US and have a better life, but they're not going to arrive and all of a sudden they're in the land of the free or whatever you call it, and they get this amazing life. They're just still in poverty. Right. And it just made me really sad, to be honest. Yeah. So that's probably like the most dangerous place, because if something happened there, and it did, I got dengue fever, but...
you got what?
Dengue fever.
What's that?
Dengue fever. It's carried in mosquitoes. It's really dangerous.
Oh, shit.
So I got that in Venezuela. But anyway, yeah, it was just a sad place to be.
Yeah. And which country would you say has the nicest people then?
Nicest people? Yeah. I'm biased. Half my family are Italian. Right. Okay. Whenever I go to Italy, I'm just like, these are my people. Yeah. Feeding you full of cannelloni. I mean, all across the Americas, like, people are just so willing to let you into their homes, and it's that Hispanic way of living. It's very different to here. It's not here. You imagine in the street, you start speaking to someone in London, they're not going to give you anything. Yeah, right. Whereas out there, maybe it's because even if you're a foreigner in London, it'd be even worse. Right. Yeah. Like, to local. Whereas out there, it's like, oh, you're a foreigner. Well, come and let me show you this cool thing. Yeah. Even if it is a part.
I wish it was like that over here.
It's just maybe it's just because there's a very real multicultural vibe here. Like, there is already loads of foreign people.
So we're not as interested.
You're not a novelty.
Yeah, right.
Whereas in like Venezuela, this woman that I stayed with told me a story about a German person she met 6 years ago. That was like the closest thing she had to me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There was no one else visiting. Right. So when you go there, you stop on your bike, and you'll have 15 lads around you, like, why are you in my town? Yeah. It's cool though, because everyone wants to let you know what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So Luke, what was the trip that you were on when you ultimately had your crash then?
That was coming down from Texas I was doing Texas to Antarctica, and I'd actually just finished the Venezuela bit. Yeah. Came back into Colombia, and I was driving down to Ecuador. Right. Through the Andes, but not in the same period on that story where I was telling you earlier, I started crying. It was just a stint to get back to Medellin. And I set off really early in the morning, and set off at like 3 a.m. or something. I don't know why. I just woke up early that day, set off. It was just a normal day on the bike.
How many hours would you do a day on the bike, roughly?
Depends. Some days I'll do like monster stints.
Yeah, right.
I'll do like 16 hours or something. Just if you're just driving through barren land, because it's big. It's not like here, if you drive for 3 hours, you're in Nottingham.
Yeah.
There, you can drive for hours and hours and hours, and you're just nowhere still.
Did you have like a target on the map that you wanted to reach, or was it like once I see something worth stopping at, I'll stop?
Normally, I'd have a target to reach like that in the next 3 days, maybe, or something. But it wasn't like that. Tonight, I'm going to stay in this town. It would just be when I arrive somewhere that can accommodate me, I'll stay.
Right.
But that day, I actually was going to go back to Medellin, and then I was staying up in the north. Drove down through some of the small little villages and towns before the mountain. Stopped for petrol at like 5:30 a.m. and sent a picture to the lads group chat like, oh, and they were like, oh, well, you're up early, and that was basically the last proper memory I've got before the crash.
Right. What was the photo of? Just
me like smiling.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so your last memory wasn't even on the bike; it was off the bike, messaging your mates as you're filling up.
So after that, everything strays into almost like a weird dream type scenario.
Okay.
It's trying to remember a dream from 2 weeks ago. But I do remember after the petrol station, and I've got no idea if this has played a part in everything, but I do remember there being a bit of wiggle room. My back wheel kept slipping out. And I don't know if there maybe like a tanker had filled up at the petrol station and was spewing oil over the road. I don't know. That's one of the theories I've come up with.
Right.
But I kind of remember that a little bit, and then I have this memory, and I can never explain it into words, but I have a memory of the feeling, the moment of the crash. I remember the feeling, but I don't remember what caused it.
Is this what, pain or
No.
The fear?
No, the fear. Like, have you ever been in a car or something when you're like, one of your idiot mates is driving or something, you're like, fucking hell, we're about to go off that, and then they save it.
Yeah.
That feeling of, I can't actually.
It sounds like a shot of adrenaline, isn't it?
But times I feel weird even speaking about it. You know, I said earlier, go back to that.
Yeah.
Our brain's like, what are you doing thinking about that?
Yeah.
It's like that shot of adrenaline, but times a million.
Right.
Like the most intense, vivid thing ever. And I can feel that feeling in my bones still when I think about it.
Wow.
Like just that moment before the crash. But I don't know if it's because there was a lorry on my side of the road. I don't know if it's because my back wheel skidded out and I just went flying through the air.
Yeah.
But the moment before the crash, I remember what that felt like, but I don't remember the actual thing itself.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's powerful, that. Yeah. Whereabouts are you? Are you in a mountainous road? What, are you on a gravel track? Like what?
I was on a road. I was on a proper road.
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, like a motorway or like a...
No, it would have been a sort of like local... Here would be the equivalent to like a B road.
Okay, right.
And I remember... So obviously remember that feeling. And then the actual first thing I remember with like images as well, because there's no image connected to that. It's just the feeling.
Yeah.
It feels weird me even saying this because it's like, it's really hard to explain remembering a feeling because I've never done it before.
Yeah.
But the next thing I remember with like an image, it's an actual memory, was I feel like I was sort of in a ditch and the road was like up there, like kind of up above me.
Okay.
And I feel like there was someone with me who, if I had to guess, was maybe like mid-30s Colombian man.
Right.
But if he was sat here, I wouldn't be able to tell you what he looked like.
Right. What, is this the guy that found you then? Or
I don't know. It could be someone that found me, could be someone that ran me over, could be someone that... I've no idea. I think it's someone that found me. But again, I'm basing this off like nothing really.
But then because he didn't then stay with you at the hospital or anything, obviously.
Well, wasn't in a hospital. So that's the next thing I remember, which was there was... I was on maybe a bed or a trolley or something.
Right.
I don't know how I got it there. But I remember there being a wooden roof. And weirdly, I don't remember any of the process of getting there or of getting out the ditch or any of that shit. But I do remember thinking to myself, I know I'm really fucked up, but I'm somewhere with a wooden roof. This can't be a proper hospital. Like, I have that. That's an actual memory. I actually remember that. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, there's a wooden roof.
right.
Can't be good. And then the next memory I have, and I weirdly, when I said I might one day remember stuff, there's one memory that has come back to me. But the one I remembered previously anyway was there was a woman there, and I remember just saying to her like, "Quiero dormir," like I just want to sleep.
Okay.
I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Like, I remember just thinking, I don't want to be a fucking part of this.
Yeah.
Like, if I die, I die. If I live, I live. like someone else can just deal with this.
Yeah, right.
It's weird to say because it's me trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
And then they tried to chop off my motorbike trousers, and I also remember thinking to myself, like, have fun getting through them. They're fucking strong.
Right.
Like I never get any hate on the internet, which
Yeah.
is quite nice. But the only thing I do sometimes get is people like, "Oh, you should have been wearing gear." I was geared up to the eyeballs. Had my helmet, jacket, motorbike trousers, boots. But the crash was obviously just such big impact. It's not going to a pair of trousers. I'm going to stop.
Yeah, there's only so much they can do.
So I remember them chopping my trousers off, and the memory that's come back to me since was I must have somehow unlocked my phone or something, and they were like saying, "Are you with anyone here?" And I said, "Jack is in Colombia." And Jack only weirdly spoke to me about this recently, or maybe I just forgotten about it when he told me the first time. But he was on the phone to me and he said, "Oh, how fucked are you, mate?" And this was in the place with the wooden roof, and I just went proper fucks. and at the time, I hadn't, that memory's not been in my brain for like 6 months. And maybe like 3 months ago, he was like, "Oh, well, yeah, because when we spoke, when you were in Mutata, which is the local province," I was like, "Wait, we spoke?" And I'm sat there like, I remember it. And it came back to me, and I was like, shit, if I remember that, there's probably other stuff I'm going to remember at some point.
Yeah.
Once you go back, you're probably likely to.
Yeah.
So you have your crash, you obviously end up in a Colombian hospital.
Yeah, so I end up in this clinic in a real small town, a population of like 2,000 people.
Right.
I don't remember how, but I then got from there, they took me up north to a place called Apatado. It was a slightly bigger town, and I had an actual hospital. And that's when I actually wake up.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I wake up and I'm completely naked. I've got my phone on top of me. None of my stuff's there. My phone, I had a quad lock on my phone, a case thing you lock into your motorbike. That's off my phone. The only thing I have is the phone. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake, this ain't great, is it? And then the nurse walks in and she's like, yeah, you've had a big motorbike crash. I'm like, yeah, I know that. We're going to have to chop your leg off. And this is all in Spanish. And obviously I knew Spanish enough by that point, but I'm like, pause. Let's Google Translate.
yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So they get on the Google Translate, and I've still got it in my like, Google Translate history. Like, "Oh, sorry, sir, we need to chop your leg off." And I was like, "Well, can I speak to a doctor, por favor?" because I'm sorry, but you're not going to chop my leg off.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a thing. And they said, "There's no doctors here. There'll be one in at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and he's coming into this hospital to chop your leg off." And I was like, right, okay, let me just try and work out what's going on here. So I got on my phone, and this is about 2 minutes after I've woken up, and the video is still on my Instagram. I'm like real beat. My face is all not mashed up. Like the helmet, the impact of the helmet I'd left the helmet mark on my face.
Right.
My eyes were all bruised, and I just went on my phone and I went on my Instagram story. I need to get to Medellin. I knew that that's where there's really good hospitals. They've got, unfortunately, a long history of dealing with amputees because obviously like Pablo Escobar and all that, you've been blowing people's legs off for years.
Right.
They know how to deal with an amputee in Medellin. I was like, I need to get there.
Right.
But it was like 10 hours away through the mountains as well. It was the route I was going to drive. And I went on my story and I said, look, can somebody help me get to Medellin? I'm stuck here. And through the motorbike community, someone managed to find an ambulance. It was 4 hours away. And then it was like, how do we pay for the ambulance? Well, they need to be Banco Colombia transferred. So you need to be a Banco Colombia customer. So I'm then finding a random motorbike guy in Colombia who's going to pay the equivalent of like £700, which is fucking loads in Colombia, to pay for an ambulance to come pick me up on the promise I'm going to pay him back at some point. But all these random people from the motorbike community just started getting involved.
Wow.
And an ambulance came, so that picked me up at about midnight, went through the mountains in the ambulance all night, got to Medellin. And then I remember this moment, they cracked the doors of the ambulance open and my mate Jack's there like, you know, mate? Because he'd flown to Medellin from where he was near the border of Ecuador. And then that's when that's when it went from bad to worse. But
how much time had passed from the crash to this point? Do you know?
I don't know how long I was in the ditch for. I could have been there for 10 minutes or a whole day. I actually don't remember. Obviously, I don't remember what happened. So I think I crashed at about 6 a.m.
Right.
And
so not long after you sent that photo to your mates in the group chat then? Not long.
I'm basing that off where the petrol station was.
Right.
And where the crash site was.
Right, okay.
I think it's about half an hour drive.
Okay, yeah.
So I've roughly worked it out because I know I sent the lads the message at 5:30 a.m.
Yeah, right.
But then the time to get from there to Apatado was basically 14 hours. I think I woke up at like 8 p.m.
Right.
or something. And then at midnight, the ambulance came. And then I arrived in Medellin at like 10 a.m. or something, 9, 10 a.m.
And then so you get to Medellin, which is like more of a sort of proper hospital sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like the way you want to be.
Yeah, and then are you still... Because obviously at that point you're kind of in a bit of denial about it, aren't you? Like, you're not taking my leg or something like that.
Well, yeah, denial or just... I knew in that moment, if I didn't do everything I could to save my leg...
You'd regret it.
I'd regret it forever.
Yeah, right.
Because if somebody ever turned around to me and said, mate, you could have saved that, I'd have been like, you idiot, you should have gone and tried harder to go and save it.
Right.
So I just, I was in the mindset of, I wasn't sad, wasn't upset, wasn't emotional, didn't cry. I was just like, let's fucking sort this out. Like at the time, those emotions came later on.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was just, I need to do what I can to promise myself in the future, I've done what I can to save my leg. So anyway, they had like a really good vascular surgeon. And because at the time they'd said to me that the arteries were severed, and they said to my parents on the phone through the embassy that they in the other place, oh, if we don't chop his leg off now, he's going to die because all the arteries were supposedly severed. But I sort of didn't ignore them. I was just like, nah, we're saving the leg, we're saving the leg, saving the leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so stubborn and insistent on it. They then put a cage on it that basically, I don't know if you've seen these cages. They actually they're external, but they go into the bone, and they're meant to like give the leg a chance to do something.
Right, okay.
I think they were just doing that to appease me, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I was later seeing x-rays of it, and you can't make up bones in the foot. It's just smashed.
What?
Yeah.
What did it look like? What did the x-ray look like?
It just looked like, I mean, I've got pictures of my foot. My toes are pointing in different directions, and all the bones were just like, that's why people say you might be run over by a lorry or something, because it looks like my foot has been crushed. But it also could just be I smashed into a tree and the motorbike hit it, or...
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we do actually need to chop your leg off. And my mate Jack, by that point, he didn't tell me this at the time, but he said, like, your leg fucking stank. Like, what was it, gangrene or something?
Right.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
My leg was dead, basically.
Yeah.
I had basically a dead leg attached to my body.
Fuck.
So they chopped it off. And that you think that would be the worst bit. That was actually the start of the issues because I woke up and the only thing that obviously everyone had known by this, but by the way, I didn't have a social media following. This was just my mate.
Yeah.
And I was using Instagram to just let them know what was going on because like...
So you still got all that help from the motorbike community without having a massive follow mad?
But because a lot of people that follow me are people I know through motorbiking and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I went on there and I said, I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is, and no one had been told I'd lost my leg. The good news is I've got my fancy dress costume sorted for every Halloween going forward. I'm going to be a pirate now. Bad news is they've chopped off my leg and I've just bought 2 Birkenstocks. So if anyone wants a left one, they can have. And you could hear Jack in the background laughing. And that was the way I told my friends and my family that I'd lost my leg. And I think everyone's looking at it going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But it wasn't me trying to like show off or anything. It was just my way of dealing with it. I was just like, I'm fine with it. You're fine with it. Let's just fucking get through this.
Yeah.
That was the day my parents flew to Colombia because they were at home sorting out the travel insurance.
Fuck.
They land, and about 12 hours after I put that update on my story, I got sepsis. My lungs stopped working. My kidneys stopped working. And I basically got taken into like intensive care, then straight into critical care. I was on like a ventilator.
Is this just bad luck, or is this because you had the leg on too long? Like,
well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It might be that I had the leg on too long.
Right.
It might be that the leg had stayed on too long and the infection just got into my bloodstream.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've met people since being in the hospital process who have lost all of their limbs because they had sepsis. Not because of any other reason. They got bitten by a mosquito, turned into sepsis. They lost all of their limbs. So sepsis in itself is awful.
It's massive, yeah.
And that was what actually nearly killed me, other than the crash itself.
Right.
Was the sepsis. So then I spent, like a decent stint just completely zonked out.
And you got no real memories of that then?
I've got, at that point as well, I was off my nut on like all sorts of painkillers.
Yeah.
And they were just pumping me full of morphine and stuff. And I was on this ventilator. There's two different types of ventilator. There's one that they strap to your face.
Yeah.
I think it's called a CPAP or something like that. And then there's another one where you're kind of induced into like a coma and they put the tube down your throat. If you remember during COVID, by the time people got to that point, it was like, say goodbye.
Yeah, right.
So I've been in critical care for maybe 4 or 5 days. And they said to my parents, like, we're going to have to do the coma one after his neck surgery. Because while this was all happening, they were still chopping up more bits of my leg to try and cut the infection out.
Yeah, right.
And but I was on the CPAP thing, and there was this moment where I remember all of a sudden being like lucid and aware of what was going on, and I tried to breathe, but I wasn't breathing. My mask was doing the breathing for me, so it was going like not like an oxygen mask. It's actually doing your lungs. So I tried to breathe myself, and I got this insane feeling of nausea, like head to toe, just feeling like I was just going to be sick.
Yeah.
And then I literally just like kind of chundered in the mask, and my dad saw it and ripped it off my face. But this whole process like sobered me up in this moment.
Yeah.
I went from being completely out of it to feeling like sober and like aware of what was going on. And I was like, oh, you're right, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, and then we had a conversation, and this is then how all this Instagram stuff started. Because
Right.
by that point, I hadn't actually put anything on my Instagram page.
Yeah.
I put a couple of stories up to let the lads know what was going on and my family. And my dad said, look, mate, obviously people know you've lost your leg.